We unite from the mountains to the sea. Warriors of love, you and me.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Rainbow Warriors 101. My name is Michelle, and I am honored to be your host this evening. Actually, technically, I'm a co-host because Mr. Lance Beem is here to continue sharing with us about biostimulants. So he will actually be hosting, and I'm just the background help. With that, we are the children of Mother Earth, humbly walking and forging hand in hand together for better tomorrows for all generations to come. And as I said earlier, tonight we are continuing with Lance Beem with biostimulants. With that, I am going to pass the feather over to Chief Mount Standing Eagle.
Thank you, Michelle. So glad to have you back. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to Rainbow Warriors 101, where our focus has been on food because we can be no healthier than the crops that we grow. And it is life-changing, it is motivating, and when you taste what was created, it makes you so thankful that we have people like Lance here. And with that, I give thanks to Creator for allowing us to have this day, humble and with gratitude for the things that we learn and that we're able to take with us, because these are the tools that we need to make a difference for all, and I mean all, that live on Mother Earth. I ask tonight that we have the sight of the eagle, that we see, that we take in, and that we understand, and we don't let all the toils and things of earth distract us. And for that of Brother Wolf, that we walk with strength and with courage, doing no harm, but being part of the system, and to bear, bringing us, family, one another together, that we grow together, stronger as one family, globally. And may we, as the buffalo, keep our eyes on those things spiritual that keeps us focused so that we stay on our track. Let that be our reminder as we grow. And with that, I give thanks to you, Creator. A hug.
Hi, everybody. This is probably going to be the last one in this series right now on the biostimulants. And as I mentioned last week, we had looked at seaweeds and the interest of so many different seaweed companies in Asia and places of those origins. It's very interesting that this week we're talking about chitin and chitinase and a lot of these compounds that are bioactive. They can be a biostimulant to increase growth, to enhance nutrient uptake, or actually have some plant defense trigger that they have been known to apply these chitin extracts onto a plant. They turn on their own defense system. It's kind of a trick, but it's been used for, millennium. And it's interesting that we're talking about these two areas. What you'll see is we don't use much in the way of chitin products or chitinase in the United States, and I don't know how much in South America, but boy, I mean, if you look at the lineup, they do a tremendous amount with them over in Asia and in Northern Africa and such. So I'm going to go forward now, and chitin is what you'll find is on the shells of crabs and shrimp, and it's made out of a polysaccharide, and also it's not only on crabs and shrimp, but it's on insect skeletons. And the trick is when they say ace, like chitinase instead of chitin, chitinase means that it's dissolving or it's changing. So when it dissolves it, it's like dissolving a salt, into water, and then it activates. So it's the same principle when we're talking about chitin and chitinase. Chitosan is made from what source? And that source is chitin, the precursor to chitosan. Chitosan is a product that's a chitinase, and it is naturally occurring polysaccharide found in exoskeleton of crustaceans and insects. It's often upcycled from seafood, becomes chitosan when a certain group of chemistry is attached to it and it detaches parts. And that process builds a structure to be more soluble and reactive. This upscaling process can transform powerful agricultural inputs such as crop protection products that directly control pathogens while fortifying natural plant defense mechanisms. And one of the key examples, I have to reduce this, I think, with Mel. Um, Anyways, I have the warrior thing standing up there. Um, if you look at the exoskeleton, it's the same as like when you see an insect molt, it leaves a skeleton, and that skeleton is the chitin that is this polysaccharide, and you find it in shrimp, you find it in crabs, you find it in certain mushrooms, and that's why I kind of put this cluster here of various organisms that produce chitin and chitinase. Um, I'll go to these a little bit later. There are four of them in there that are YouTubes that if you want to take the time to look at them, they're very interesting and they describe in detail what chitosan is, which is from chitin, and then you have the chitinase that breaks them down. Um, the chitosan operates through several functional mechanisms depending on how it's applied to the crop or environment. As a biopesticide used in foliar sprays or soil additives, as a biostimulant, promotes physiological health by triggering growth hormones and enhancing metabolic activities. As a soil amendment, improves physical and biological soil quality, leading to increased nutrient bioavailability. As a seed treatment, as a protective coating, this is something that they do a lot, particularly in Asia. They'll put the chitosan on the seed, and then when you put it in the soil and the water hits it, it activates it and actually helps with a germination and shields it during early growth stages from soil-borne pathogens. It can also be sprayed as an application foliarly as well as through the soil. The sprays trigger systemic acquired resistance uh, and prepare crop for defense mechanisms before the infection occurs. So that's real significant. Basically, getting a vaccine. Recent academic study field trials have solidified the case for chitosan in agriculture with impressive data. Wheat growth, they've seen, with seed treatments, the seed vigor index by 160% increase over just untreated. With potato yields, 40% increase, significantly improved tuber quality. Tomato disease, the chitosan Pseudomonas treatment increased plant growth by 46%, reduced disease by 115%, which is huge. Corn productivity, chitosan treatment increased germination rate almost 100%, and plant height by 150%, a leaf area 200%. Those are pretty outrageous things for me to see for any natural plant extract, but I have seen them more than once with several different products, but those are the best of the best. Coffee nutrient uptake, NPK, loaded chitosan nanoparticles increase nitrogen content by 17%, phosphorus by 16, and potassium by 67. Drought tolerance combined with biochar, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, you're very familiar with, maintain about a 78%, 79% plant health under severe water deficiency versus 15.3% in the control groups. These are just a few examples of improvement percentage-wise for tomato yield, 46%, potato fresh weight, 40%, seedling vigor, meaning that it germinates quickly, 160%. Corn plant height, 54%. Strawberries, total harvest for multiples, 25%. And that nitrogen uptake in coffee, 17%. Here is a picture of in the category of biostimulants. You can see the common usage for biostimulants in the United States tends to be vegetables and legumes, some fruit, and I don't think they have California marked out very well there because we grow a lot of those. But the biostimulant uses have been less adapted in the United States because of restrictions as they are over in Asia. And as you can see over there, in all parts of Asia, all these crops, vegetables, fruits, cereals, legumes, tuber crops, and others are being used widely. And I have been to the conferences, and the European and Asian groups dominated. And the Asians in the biostimulant conferences, their big thing is this chitosan. So I think we're late to the table, but it's nice that we've been able to find some companies here in the States that are using these products. And I am leaving you phone numbers and people to contact at the end of this presentation that have chitosan as a main product in their arsenal here in the States. One of the things that chitosan does is it simulation of a natural plant defense mechanism. And what that means is when the plant is tagged with this spray or the root system is hit with it, the plant goes into defense mode. It might not grow as fast, but what it does is it puts on a lot of its defenses in anticipation of an attack. And this is common with plants. If certain insects come in and start feeding on it, the plants stop using all the plant hormones to make growth, and they start turning the plant hormones in to make different types of defenses. And that's kind of what a chitosan does. It actually turns on the plant's defenses early, again, like a vaccine. The mechanism of chitosan, for example, on Phytophthora, which we're all familiar with, that's the one that rots kind of the roots or prevents, it makes a slimy mold, things like that. That mechanism is elicited for plant resistance in Phytophthora with chitosan. So if you are experiencing wet feet and wet conditions and getting that, like I had talked about, where you can pull off the root and it sloughs off, it's all brown and black. That's typically a water mold called Phytophthora pythium. It also, even though fungus, I have to say, is not as strong, but certain fungi produce chitosan as well. Probably some of the best are the crab shell, and then the insect, and then some of the fungi that produce chitosan. That's also effective. In certain cases, very effective, but not necessarily as strong as the crab shell or the insect shell. Chitosan passes through the phospholipid barrier, leading to the membrane destruction of the fungus. So chitosan not only is produced by crab shell and insect shell, but also by fungal cell. But also there is certain types of chitosan that will attack the fungi, in particular some of these plant pathogens that we're worried about. Not to confuse you. Documented crop yield improvements from recent trials, 2020 to 2024. There was disease resistance by boosting the plant's innate immune system. Chitosan provided broad spectrum resistance against pathogens, an insect deterrent, improved soil health by soil restructuring, enhancing microbial activity and nutrient retention. The seed germination, treating seed with chitosan, a lot of people I've worked with have been doing this and finding formulations that will allow it to stick on without having to be put on with powder and coated. So there's a lot of interest in this because it does help the seed germination, particularly with wheat and cold soils. And the stress tolerance, if significantly enhances plant resilience against drought and salinity in many of these trials. The methods of application can be foliar sprays, they can be seed treatments, they can be added with a soil amendment, fertilizer additive, coating on fertilizer, and chitosan nanoparticles, which is something new that people are making, and it's kind of having a big splash here in the States. Um, in the foliar sprays, the concentration level, I think, I can't see that, everybody. Quite sure why I can't get Mel's thing off of here. Let's see. There we go. Okay. The concentrations in solution would be 0.1% to 1% for foliar sprays that stimulates mechanisms for plant defense. And for seed treatment, that rate would be 0.3% to 1.5% applied as a coating on the seed. Usually it's sprayed on, when you're spinning the seed in a barrel or something of that nature, or laying it out and spraying it. Comparing chitosan sources, shellfish, fungal, and insect. The shellfish typically cost around $19 to $39 per kilo. It's well established. Potential shellfish allergens is one concern, so that may be one that you wouldn't want to use. There's still plenty of people in the world that have shellfish allergies, and some of them can be quite severe. So a lot of times they would have to post that's not treated with something like that. In Europe, I think they do that. Fungal mushroom chitosan costs about $69 to $90 per kilo. Doesn't have the fish or shellfish allergy. It's allergen free, vegan, and consistent on non-animal sources. It's an emerging market. One of the big ones that we use is, gosh, you can grow flies very quickly, and there are people that do that for a living. And the exoskeleton of the fly larvae that molts I think they molt four times before it becomes an adult fly, similar to butterfly and other flying insects. Is each one of those molts, there are companies that will come in and collect all of the skeletons or the sacs that the larvae have broken, split, and come out of, and then started to grow another chitin shell on itself. They've made a business out of that, and it's some very, very innovative stuff that I see. They're even using it as high grade as pharmaceutical purity. Beyond the source, the chemical of chitosan plays critical roles in the applicability as an acid soluble chitosan with antifungal properties and growth stimulation. Chitosan hydrochloride is very water soluble. That's one that is convenient to use as a foliar spray or in irrigation. And the chitosan oligosaccharide, which consists of a shorter polymer chain that is highly soluble and bioactive. It is effective at low concentrations and easily absorbed by plants, while often more expensive due to processing requirements. Its efficiency as a biostimulant is very significant. Okay, you've talked to me and we've talked to each other about biochar in the past, and one of the most promising developments in sustainable agriculture in 24-25 is the synergistic combination of chitosan with biochar. Biochar, a carbon-rich material produced from biomass, acts as a permanent soil amendment, while chitosan provides immediate biological stimulation. And you can see all the different ways, from root biomass increase to 35%, soil water retention 25, disease resistance 20, nutrient uptake 15, soil microbial activity 5%. So this is one of those things that Will has been doing, and you folks have been doing with the biochar, is adding things to it. This is something, like I said, if you look on the internet, there are chitosans that are available in bottle form that you can order. One of the companies, Omex, the one I left the information for you, is another good source, because they're also in Europe, they're also in Asia, and they're also in South America. So, they've been using the chitosan for a good while. The distribution benefits of chitosan biochar soil amendments improve soil structure up to 140% increase in specific leaf area for crops grown in treated soils, enhances root development, sometimes 75% increase compared to the groups, very similar to the plant extracts and some of the biostimulants that we've been talking about that have plant hormone activity that increases the biomass and the root length and the number of roots, increases nutrient holding in the root zone, synergistic effect, Nature report demonstrated combining biochar soil amendment with chitosan foliar spray. So do the biochar soil and then spray with a chitosan, increase flower yield up to 117% under drought stress conditions compared to untreated controls. Application rates again is like 0.1 to 0.5% chitosan solution on seed coating or soil drench. Some of those I saw they say increased to 1 to 1.5 as well. But in this, it's combined with the 5 to 20 tons of biochar. So maybe you can ease off a little bit on the amount or the cost of the chitosan. The chitosan is not really that expensive. It's in the line with a lot of the other biostimulants. This is from that company, Omex, Omex Canada. This is Omex USA. But again, this is just a repeat. You get crop protection with antimicrobial properties and induced systemic resistance. Induced systemic resistance is the one where if you put chitosan on the plant reacts as a foreign object that's trying to come in and use an enzyme to get into the plant. Well, that triggers the plant to put on its natural defenses and stop growing and start defending itself from using the amino acids and the terpenes and things to protect itself. So this is kind of a indirect, again, like a vaccine. So that's what induced systemic resistance means. Enhancing plant growth, biostimulant effects, fruit quality improvement, soil health, soil fertility increases, sustainable fertilization as a base nutrient gradually, a base that releases nutrients gradually rather than quickly. They have some charts on that. And environmental sustainability, chitosan derived from chitin are natural polymers found in crustacean shells, making an eco-friendly alternative to synthetic agricultural inputs. It aligns with sustainable agriculture, promoting environmental stewardship. And conclusion, chitosan unique properties make it a valuable tool in modern agriculture addressing challenges such as pest resistance and the need for sustainable practices. Its applications not only enhances crop productivity, but also contributes to healthier soils and reduced reliance on chemical inputs, making it a promising solution for sustainable farming. This is, I'll leave this up. This is the company Omex. Francisco Rivera is a good friend of mine, and he's here in Southern California. Mike Williams, their office for the U.S. is here in California as well, down in the Fresno area. And he's the CEO. But if you can't get a hold of Francisco, Mike or his secretary can put you in touch with somebody if you're interested in ordering some product. And again, if their Omex is also in Europe and those other countries, but you will find as you go on the internet and look to find the chitosan, that there are a number of Asian companies that are trying to distribute those here in the United States. I don't know that all of them have attempted registrations, but that is one nice thing about this is that the chitosan that's registered as this product is registered in the United States. And some of the Asian ones I saw at the Biostimulant conference were trying to get me to help them get that done. But as of now, they haven't done it. So that's that. What I'll do is I want to go back to this and go. So just as a repeat, what we're talking about is the exoskeleton is that little shell that they come out of, the insects come out of. You don't see them there for long. But what happens is the insect has a chitinase, or there's a trigger that causes, the insect kind of blows itself up. It has this hard shell, and then it has to have an enzyme, the chitinase, that dissolves the skin enough so that it can crack and come out, like a snake sheds its skin. Well, what's interesting about that is that I worked with companies that developed a product for insect pests that blocks the enase, the chitinase. So it's a chitinase inhibitor. And then that locks the insect in, say it's a bad insect or a virus vector, that blocks it. So we have worked on both sides. We worked on the side where, you take the exoskeleton and you subject it to the enzyme, and then that enzyme becomes a liquid, and then that becomes a tool for you to either go spray on a plant to stimulate it or to help fight fungal diseases in particular. But also in the game is the fact that we know how to block that enzyme as well and keep bad insects encased, and they can't feed anymore, they die. So it's a kind of an interesting, creepy world there in the hitherlands of biochemistry. Polysaccharides, by the way, are a major class of carbohydrates. They're actually one of two of the major ones in the world. So polysaccharides, we hear about them a lot, but what are they? They're found in these exoskeletons of crustaceans and insects. They play a diverse role in essential roles in biological functions across plants and animals. All right.
The surge in global population has sparked an urgent need for sustainable food production methods. Agrochemicals have boosted crop yields, but their excessive use has detrimental effects on our health and environment. A breakthrough lies in the use of chitosan, a natural biopolymer, in sustainable agriculture. Chitosan can serve as a safer alternative to conventional agrochemicals, promoting plant health without harming ecosystems. By reducing wastage and enhancing absorption, chitosan nanoparticles allow greater efficacy with less chemical input. Chitosan also boosts the natural defenses of plants, making them resilient against various diseases and pests. This approach not only enhances crop yields but also supports environmental sustainability. Applications of chitosan have been shown to increase the efficacy of fungicides against common plant pathogens. Future studies must evaluate the performance of these solutions in real farming environments. The potential of chitosan-based agro-nanochemicals may redefine our relationship with nature, fostering a healthier planet.
Okay, we get out of that and get back to PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you another one. This is a real funny guy that is very common to a lot of ag guys I meet, as you all do, and I think you'll enjoy this. He's pretty down to earth, but he's talking about his product and how they're using the black flies for this.
Version, because everything is a mineral in our,
There we go.
whichever way you want to pronounce it. Now, what is chitin? Chitin is the exoskeleton of insects. So it's that shell of an insect, and it's also, it comes from crustaceans like crabs and shrimps. Also, fungi have chitin in them, but the chitin from the exoskeletons of insects is much stronger than the fungi. And what it does, it actually enhances the plant's defense mechanisms as well as feeding the earth. Now, a bit more details about chitin. Well, it's found in our superfood, folks, and I don't know of any other organic, natural garden fertilizer, and that's what we should be calling our fertilizers, garden fertilizers, not plant fertilizers, which I've got to work on our labeling as well. But you'll find chitin is what we add into our superfood. So it's an enhancement, but not so much of a fertilizer, but more so a defense mechanism. So chitin, it's almost like the cellulose or the carbohydrates that plants have, or the cellulose, let's say it that way. So it builds cell wall structure in plants. So by adding this into the soil or along with your fertilizer that we have mixed into it, it will enhance the ability of the plant to defend itself against pest and disease. So the message here that I'm trying to share with you is to get away from using insecticides, non-natural or synthetic form of insecticides and or fungicides. And we're working towards bringing you a chemical-free version and a toxic chemical-free version, because everything is a mineral, I suppose, and everything we do, you can technically call this some sort of chemical, but this is nature's own made chemical. So this is made by soldier fly larvae. So the insect that we harvest is the soldier fly larvae, and we keep the exoskeleton, which is the shell, and they shed that as they grow multiple times. So when that's added into the fertilizer, A, you're feeding the microbes with the superfood, and it's a full all-rounder fertilizer. B, the chitin or the exoskeleton itself, when it goes into it, yes, the microbes feed off it as well, but your plants get the benefits of that, which triggers an enzyme, if I'm not mistaken by saying, that helps the plant develop a stronger cell wall. So they're more resilient against pests and disease, hot and cold weather. As you can see here, this morning, even though these are winter plants, they were literally covered in ice, completely covered in ice. But have a look at them now, strong and happy. I didn't wash it off either. So all my gardens have our superfood with the chitin in it. But it's something that maybe you should do a little bit of research yourself, find out more from others, I suppose, alike around the world, because I'm sure there'll be others practicing similar ways. We've got an amazing processing. The IP on that is something that we can't share, obviously, but it's the chitin that I want you to focus on. This is the stuff here that you'll find in the superfood. We've had a lot of emails asking what is all this other brown sort of flaky stuff in there. Well, that's the old larvae, the exoskeleton or the shell of the larvae. Added into it, builds defense mechanisms in the plants, builds their immune system, keeps them stronger and healthier, and you apply it every 3 to 6 months in your garden bed. Adding this into your garden, I can guarantee you your garden will look the happiest it's ever been. Now, folks, the emails that come through and, the questions that I get asked is, do I need to put gloves on? You can wear gloves if you want when you're handling soil and fertilizers, advisable. But when it comes to handling this, a lot of you are getting grossed out. Don't be. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actual fertilizer. Now, this is a frass. It's made by the same larvae, exoskeleton shell, when they're alive. They're digesting foods that we give them, like breads and processed fruit and vegetables. They break it down and they produce this amazing, rich little granule made by nature. So in the wild, if we're not interrupting nature as it is on its own, because Mother Nature's got it all worked out, these creatures are living on the floor of the forest floors. The soldier fly adult comes in, lays the eggs, they hatch, and the larvae start feeding. They're gross feeders, and they break down all the leaf emulsion matter that's in there, composting it down for the microbes and fungi and the bacteria, so they digest and start feeding the tree. So it's a beautiful little ecosystem. And all we've done is come along and learned how they love to live, their little microclimate, and we've copied that in a controlled environment so that we can breed them and produce this fertilizer and the chitin. Why do I say that? Is because you're not going to find that in these little 1 by 1 square meter garden beds or backyards, the courtyards, even in this raised garden bed. Highly unlikely to find that sort of composting creature end up in here. So what we do is create it for you, put it in here, and voila, the magic is there. It's not magic, it's the reality of nature. We're not interfering, or very minimal amount of interference, which is the population of the larvae. So when it comes to handling it, don't be scared. If you've ever gone to the forest floor and picked up a handful of leaf emulsion matter and composting material, well, it's pretty much what you'll find in there that's in here. So without the compost, that is. So soldier fly, larvae, exoskeleton shells, which we're talking about chitin, is in our superfood, not any other fertilizer. And actual fact is, I don't know if there is another fertilizer that does what we do. If you know, I'd love to hear from it. Not worried about competition, but more about advice and knowledge for you guys at home to know what you're doing in your garden and what you're using and how good or bad it is for you. For me, the Silly Superfood, Maresi. It's available on our website, vasiliesgarden.com.
All right. So that was it. There are two other on the PowerPoint presentation. There are two other ones, and it was a little bit more scientific discussions about, you can get it from shrimp, you can get it from different uh, crustaceans, and you can get it from fungi, and you can get it from insects, as he was discussing. He's proud of his product, and I think it's a great idea. There are a lot of or more advanced liquid forms of chitosan that I saw, and that they're easy to and convenient to use. But I mean, if this guy has a granule form that's basically made up of carcasses of exoskeletons of the larvae in that soldier fly in particular, but that's not to eliminate the possibility that, it could come in different forms than it does. They have them in powder forms, and I like those because you can put them on seed. And then they have liquid forms as well. So um, the omics folks, they have the liquid form, and that is just a lead for you all. But I could also post a list that I got from my conferences, which will be coming up again this year in Sacramento, believe it or not. But we usually at the shows now we see an awful lot of chitosan, so that would be indicative of trade shows in the East Coast, North, South, West here in the U.S. as well. But safe choice and kind of nice to have that tool because it's a little bit different to some of the other things that we use. So any questions?
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you, Lance.
Sure.
We greatly appreciate everything that you've shared with us. One of my questions is Mel gonna have a PDF so that we can also review the presentation?
Yeah. He already has a PowerPoint.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. He already has a
Perfect.
PowerPoint. And I probably went through that quicker today, but trying to be a little bit timely for you. And I'm still dealing with some things here. So I'd like to stay another 15 minutes, but um, I do think if anybody has any questions, the simplest thing to say is that if you've heard of elicitors before, people talk about eliciting a response. That really is kind of the idea when you're using a vaccine, is you're kind of prepping yourself with a less than virulent strain of something that then turns your immune system on, and that's more or less what this stuff does when it comes to the plant health for plant diseases that are going to come in and attack. I don't think chitosan is very good on viruses. It's good on fungal diseases. And think about it. I mean, some of the fungal products that are produce chitosan, are not really pathogenic. They're actually helpful to the plant, but they trigger the plant to think it's being attacked. So then it turns its own defense systems on, which is always a good tool, especially when you're using natural products along with it, that enhance the priming of that. Um, the exoskeletons of insects is commonly used as for chitosan because they molt quite a bit and they release that enzyme, that chitinase, and then that allows you to use that product to spray in a liquid form and actually dissolve the eggs of the insect or the insects as they're if you get them to molt quicker because you've dissolved their shield, their skin, they die, they dehydrate. So those are the two methods that I think are important.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We've learned so much from the very start, and protecting our crops in harmony with nature is so very, very important. And the very fact, like I know up here in Canada, we've kind of missed the planting season a little bit, but there's still that up and down the drought. I'm sure that in the US, you are also experiencing,
Yeah.
the up and down temperature, the rain 1 minute and then nothing, and the soil's getting dry. So we're also experiencing that up here in Canada. So that's something that we can definitely think about come frost time.
Yep.
And even in the meantime, because those grasshoppers, they multiply.
That's one thing that we've tried to enhance with grasshoppers. I'd worked on grasshopper projects in the 80s up in the northern, the Highline states, and on the, before they become locusts and stuff. And they use a nematode. I didn't really go into that detail, but I probably will on our biopesticide thing. They have the eggs of nematodes that grasshoppers eat, and then the nematode comes in and just kind of like a flareal worm that you would get, or a hookworm in the old days, when you would be farming, that nematode, that they have those. We've tried some anti-chitin type products to block the grasshoppers from molting. And they work okay, but they tend to break down in UV light. And I think that's one of the things that's a problem. So putting these things more or less on the plant and coming in contact with insects is one thing, or being absorbed by the plant to release some systemic resistance is another thing. But putting these things on in the soil a lot of times is one of the good places that you don't have to worry about the UV light as much. And then I've seen now they've found these polymers. They call them some kind of a polymer that they can protect the coating on the chitosan, and then that makes it even longer lasting in the soil or on the plant. So, we're advancing the technology of chitosan, and it's keeping up with the demand. I think, we're all getting sick and tired of getting poisoned by pesticides in ways that are very low grade, but we're consuming them. I believe very sincerely in farmers and their ethics and knowledge they have of their own kids, their own families, their own animals. They're guardians of the planet, but they have to rely on synthetic pesticides a lot of times, and they ache for something that's economical, that is effective, and they're more than willing to work with it if it's economical, and that tends to be the main issue. Um, um, you can integrate and do a good job, and you can use certain pesticides early in the season that won't be in the plant later. Those things are okay, but I think overall, farmers, and I work with a lot of farmers, they would love to have more products that produce bigger fruit, healthier fruit, and have better tools to protect the plant. And unfortunately, it's just not as easy as synthetic, and therefore, I give credit to a lot of these guys. I like working with the plant biostimulants because a lot of them, as you know, have increased yields quite significantly, and the guys have are able to use less fertilizers, and actually, with healthier plants, they're able to use less pesticides.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Lance? Denise?
Yeah, I wanted to speak about the uh, shellfish allergy part of the chitosan. So you're saying that if you use the chitosan with the shellfish,
Yes.
so if you have a shellfish allergy, it's absorbing that into the product you're putting it on. If you have that allergy, you should not
Yes. Yeah, it's
use.
like an MSG. It's like an MSG allergy. And that the one with the old accent, where people were starting to have that issue. So, and a lot of people have shellfish allergies for one reason or another. It tends to be these enzymes and sensitivity to them. I don't know the genetics of that, but that would be one. Again, the guy that's using the insect one, that isn't the same as the shellfish, and you can see on the labels, this is a touchy thing, especially if you're using these products. people need to know if it was treated with a shellfish product. And that's like one of those things that is required. You have to declare it if it is, you know.
Right. So, like, say if I myself use it on what I was growing, I have a family member who has an allergy. I wouldn't be able to offer that food to a family member.
That's
So,
true. Yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, and um, I have a buddy. He literally went to the hospital immediately after we went to a smorgasbord someplace, and he didn't know that there was some sauce in it, you know, that had come from a shellfish. So I know I can be empathetic to those people that have that very acute reaction. And I think that's the bane of one of these. But I think the beauty is the insect one, like the guy was talking about, the soldier fly larvae. You know, that doesn't seem to be, to my knowledge, and I'm not an expert, but shellfish, yeah, definitely. The fungal ones too. You know, some people are allergic to the fungal ones, but not shellfish. So I guess it depends on your allergy.
okay, thank you.
You bet.
Wonderful question. Thank you, Denise. Are there any other questions for Lance? Lance, I think you're safe.
Okay. Okay. I don't want to leave the crowd without saying thank you very much for the opportunity to present these things. I really look forward to them. We'll have some other players. I think I'm going to get Harley back in and a few other ones so that we can kind of fill out the summer. Harley got very excited going up and meeting some of my old buddies from Stoller because he is doing that pumpkin thing, you know, that makes big pumpkins, and he's the judge on it and all that stuff. And you know, he and I have talked plant hormones at different times, but he's not what you call an expert on it. But my buddy Dave up there that met with him because he wanted to go get some product, they talk, you know, for hours about plant hormones and stuff. It's a weird group that we are, uh, because you learn all the tricks from each other. But Harley got real excited about that, and he wants to participate again. So, you know, he might be another one that we ask after about two more weeks. I'll stop for a while, and then, you know, we'll get some of the other guys to come in.
Perfect. And pumpkin, oh my gosh, sometimes those pumpkins are absolutely huge.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. You can't
huge.
find a
Like,
scale big enough to weigh them. Yeah, I
yeah.
know.
Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing with us, Lance. I know that you are a very busy man, so we appreciate everything that you share with us.
Uh,
And thank you.
Oh, we rise, we unite from the mountains to the sea. Warriors of love, you and me. We are the new tribe of the earth, connecting our spirits, remembering our worth.